All right, it says we're live streaming on Facebook. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Lesley, can you still hear me?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me,
Perfect.
Misty?
All right.
Awesome.
So, guys, we're so excited to be talking about chapter 3. I am so excited to be at the office today, not at home. Woo! So chapter 3 is Find Your Voice, and this chapter really highlights the beginning of Mo's teaching career and how she helped other people find their voice. She was a music teacher, and then how that translated later into helping people find their other voices, their leadership voice, their spiritual voice, their salesman voice. And so Lesley is, of course, the perfect choice for this one because before she became an amazing team leader who closes almost 300 a year. She said her best year was 300, and does all of this. She was a teacher. So Lesley, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Missy. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I absolutely love this book. In fact, I told you when we were getting on that it actually sits on my bookcase on top of my desk. So I just love it.
Fantastic. So we'll just dive in. Guys, we'll do the same thing, and we'll just talk for a few minutes with Lesley, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. So I want to start by reading something real quick because I feel this way and I love it. On page 48 in this chapter, Find Your Voice, in the beginning of the chapter, she talks about how she landed this music teacher gig. And it's amazing because she did not actually have a degree in music. And of course, Mo would land a teaching gig and not have a degree in music. So she writes on page 46, I realize now it isn't always about your certification or your credentials. It's more about having the ability and passion to do something and the confidence to do it well. These qualities can be just as important or even more important than a professional certification or a piece of paper saying you took some classes. Ability, passion, and confidence are what help you discover your true voice and sing your unique song for the world. I would learn this lesson again and again in my years as a teacher. So Lesley, tell me a little bit about your teaching journey and how you feel hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And it doesn't matter what industry, if it's teaching or real estate. I mean, that transcends everything. And I actually taught kindergarten and first grade for 5 years. And I actually had a business degree coming out of college and spent a year as an underwriter in an insurance agency and hated it. It was like putting me in a cubicle is just not the way to go. So I thought, you know what? My mom and both of my aunts were teachers. I love children. I'm going to jump in and get my master's degree in teaching, and I'm going to go teach. And so my husband kind of thought I was crazy. He's like, you're really going to get your master's in teaching? And I was like, yes. And so I taught for 5 years. And I love when Mo talks about she taught at a school that was on the other side of the tracks, because Missy, that was my school. Like our school was probably 90% poverty. I mean, it was a heartbreaking school to teach in, and I absolutely adored these kids. Yet what I found, something in me longed to get back to the business world, and I could never explain why. And like year 4, I said to Andy, I said, you know what? I really want a family. I love kids, and I cannot do this forever. I work so hard. I put my heart and soul into everything I do, and I want a job that rewards me for that and pay too, right? I want to be able to support our family. So I jumped into real estate part-time and had a really fast start. And to me, that jumping in part-time to real estate and still teaching full-time, I could not believe the people that were trusting me with their real estate experience when I was barely certified. So when Mo talks about it isn't always about your certifications or your credentials, it's more about having the ability and passion. I think no matter what I've done, whether it's teaching or whether it's real estate, like people feel the passion behind that. And so I jumped out of, after I got a really quick start in real estate, my husband's like, you're making more than you're making teaching full time. So, get out, right? And for years, we were still paying on my master's and teaching loan. And Missy, he would say, Lesley, I cannot believe we're still paying on this teaching degree when you don't even use it. And so one thing that I love about this is fast forward 14 years of me being in this business. And my favorite thing now is actually teaching. Last year, Andy and I were on the road 71 days with Keller Williams teaching across the country. And who would have thought that this little kindergarten and first grade teacher completely transformed into a teacher still 14 years later in a completely different industry? And so, Missy, to me, like, teaching has always been my passion. It just has kind of, over time, that's really shifted, like, where I am actually teaching, right?
Yes. Well, I love to hear you say that. I listened to, there's a podcast that Lindsay Emerson is part of, and it's Homegirls podcast. And so they interviewed Lesley. And the thing that really jumped out of my mind and just made me adore you before I met you was when you posed the question, if you won the lottery today, would you go to work tomorrow? Well, I think when you find your voice, the answer is yes.
That's my favorite question to ask people, because you want to get in that space where you're not working by necessity, like you're working out of choice. And so you have to, at some point, follow your passion and work by choice, or you're just going to burn out, right? And it impacts everything you do. So I think for me, I've really gone from this space of course, in the beginning, I was selling, and now I don't sell anymore, right? And so it's finding the passion. And yeah, I loved working with clients, and it really becomes, to me, at some point, about moving from success to significance. And when I am in a classroom, I feel so connected to that audience and the inspiration that I just want to draw out of them. I loved a quote that actually she says in this, because she was talking about her kids on the other side of the tracks. And she said, I demanded full attention and respect from those kids. And she said, and I held them to the same high expectation that I would hold any kid to. And so I think that I look back on my success in this business, and it's really because I've always demanded a lot of myself, and yet I've also demanded a lot of my team, because I want us to serve each and every person and treat every person in our database, every client that we help, like their only client. And that really comes from being demanding of yourself to a great service experience, right? Having high expectations of your team. So that was one of my favorite parts, Missy, when I reread it, is that just stuck out to me. Like, what do your expectations and standards look like?
I love that. I'll tell you one thing that really jumped out to me. And by the way, I have a first grader at home. His name is Hank. And if you'd like to borrow him for a little bit, you may.
I miss that age. I really miss that age. I used to teach Sunday school at church to kind of fill in the gap, because I still love kids so much. So, I mean, I probably taught Sunday school for 5 years for little kids. I may go back one day and teach.
That's amazing. So my big secret is I love my kids and I don't love kids. And now that's out there.
It's okay. Everybody has their passion.
Yep. So one thing that really stuck out to me too is in the part where it talks about how Mo became this music teacher and she never had a degree in music. There are times where I think we can really suffer from an imposter syndrome, or feel like we have, especially in this business, it's so easy to grow quickly. And there are times where I think, man, if people knew like about where I came from, or that I didn't finish college, or, if people knew, boy, they would think I'm such a fraud. And Mo's reminder that, no, my passion and my activities, it's enough. And I have my voice. And that was so reassuring.
I love that too. I think about the first time I called my team leader early on in my career, because I got $1 million listing lead, and I was so excited. And I was like, and I'm so scared. I really need to turn this over to somebody else because I've never worked with $1 million buyer. How do I work with $1 million buyer, right? And he goes, well, have you worked with a 200,000, or it was a listing. So have you worked with a $200,000 listing? And he said, it's just a person. You treat them the same way. So I do, and to some extent, think we put these limitations on ourselves because we don't feel certified or we don't feel like we're deserving of that, right?
Last week, Chuck here, I'm sure he'll chime in a little bit. We were talking about following your dream, and we talked a little bit about dream bullies. And it's interesting because I think we have the same kind of voice bullies in a way. So,
For sure. Oh, for sure.
by the way, my first luxury listing appointment, I called Jenny Wallach and I said, Jenny, what do I do? And she said, well, just make sure the shoes are polished and don't do anything else differently.
They're all people, right? We treat them all the same. And I think that, I mean, that's what Mo did with these kids, right? She had the same expectations for these kids that were raised in a poverty-stricken environment as she did the kids that she taught before they moved, right? And so often we have to just have high expectations of people because we don't know their level of or their ceiling of achievement. Like we don't even know that for ourselves. So I love that part.
So Lesley, let me ask a question. I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about you. When I was reading about how Mo helps the students find their voice, she's got like a 4-step process. In your, besides going around and teaching, what are some other ways that you find your voice now that you're not a teacher anymore by title? Like on your team, at home?
I love that. So over the past probably 10 years, I had a child, by the way. My very first child was born my first year in real estate when I was working part-time and jumping into real estate. So I've always known real estate with kids. And so about 10 years ago, I really started having this passion for moms in the business that were really raising kids and doing the whole counterbalancing act, right? And so I just really started to hone in on like a lot of young moms in the market center, right? And kind of mentoring them. And then fast forward 10 years later, and I feel like that is like so much of my gift to our market centers. So we have 3 market centers in Atlanta. And that's one of the things I feel really strongly about is moms or dads, right? That are really trying to provide an amazing life for their kids. And we know how demanding real estate can be. So my voice has really been for that, the cheerleader for that young mom, because I remember 14 years ago being that young mom, learning the business, working 80-hour days and coping with so much mom guilt, right? And not wanting to put my kid in daycare and not wanting to hire a full-time nanny, yet needing to, right? And so that's been my voice. Like those are the people. And I look at the young moms on our team that have little kids right now at home through all this COVID crisis and they don't have childcare. Like my empathetic heart just goes out to them. Right. So yeah, that's kind of the voice I've found in the past 10 years. Also, I love 36 Touch, Missy. Like the 36 Touch plan marketing. I mean, that is like, I love it more than anything. That's what we were on the road teaching last year. So I feel like that's kind of my voice too. So either this like really supportive cheerleader, inspirational, hey moms, you can do it, or hey, you can do this 36 touch plan, right? Let's roll this out. You can be an 80% repeat referral business, even doing 300 units a year. And how can I help you get there? So does that help? That's kind of like my 2 voices.
Look, I muted myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, you're good.
I love that. So what other thoughts do you have around, do you feel like you have more voice yet to find, or do you feel like you found your lane?
I think there's still more. I think there's always more. I don't ever want to arrive, right? I just want to keep honing the craft and finding, I mean, there's so many things we can do. Gary actually says, he said to our mastermind group one day, he's like, usually people stay in the same position for like 10 years and then they need a change, right? And so I really was all in real estate for 10 years. And now I'm kind of back with half of my time being teaching. And so I think, I mean, I hope I've got like 30 good work years left in me. That's 3 more passions, right? To develop. Yeah. You know, Missy, too, like one thing in terms of voice and finding your voice, I feel like Keller Williams has given me so much. And not just as a business owner, but as in mindset and just being a mom. So I am a huge proponent of children still. And my kids are my biggest guinea pigs. So when they're 13 and 10 now, but when they were 8 and 5, I actually did future self with them. That future self was what it was called in the old days of Recruit Select. And now we call it the motivational interview, right? Where we say, okay, I want you to imagine yourself 5 or 10 years from now, and it's been the best 10 years of your life. What happened? And I did that with my kids when they're 8 and 5, because one thing that people do, and they don't even realize it, parents do it every single day, is we put these limitations on our kids. And we can't do that, right? And so I want to invest in my kids. If they want to be the best soccer player around, then we're going to get them coaching, right? And so I just think we need to learn, what is it about our kids that make them tick? We need to help our kids find their voice, right? And how we do that is really vision boards and future self, and really spending quality time with them, because it's always quality over quantity.
I love that so much. Guys, if you have questions, go ahead and be typing those in the chat box, and we'll take your questions in just a second. Lesley, I'm going to have just a moment with you. I might get emotional. So I have a 9-year-old, and his dream is to be a YouTuber. And probably 6 or 8 months ago, he told me about this, and I just kind of dismissed it. I said the things with my words that made him feel heard, and in my head I dismissed it like, oh yeah, sure, everybody's a YouTuber. Last night we were decluttering for the house cleaners to come today for the first time since shutdown, and he picked up his little webcam and he started crying. And I said, Bob, what is it? And he said, I was going to be a YouTuber. Oh, and shame on me for not just really helping him find his voice. And so interestingly enough, in my bold planner today at 5 o'clock, I have Jason's first YouTube video when we're going to create that together. So I love that.
I love that.
So emotional thinking about it.
Oh, girl. I mean, and we say things all the time, right? That we don't think through. My new thing has been always say yes with conditions. So I read Grant Cardone's book, the 10X Rule. And I love that book because it's like, don't say no, right? Because when you say no, we automatically always want to say no. Yet if we say yes with conditions, right? My kid's the same way. He wants to be a gamer, like a Fortnite gamer, and make tons of money, right? And is begging for a gaming PC. And last week he came to me and he said, Mom, I need 15, or I'm going to put this gaming PC on a payment plan. And I said, honey, we don't buy anything on a payment plan that we can't pay in full unless it's a house. And so we had to really have this discussion. And I said, but here's the thing, I'm not telling you no. If you want a gaming PC, great. I said, here's how you'll do it. You're going to enter contacts in command for me, and you're going to clean up command this summer. And I'll pay you 25 cents a contact, right? And that's how you can make money. And this week, he's already made a ton of money. He worked all weekend on entering contacts and has ordered half of the stuff to build a gaming PC. So Missy, I mean, I love that. I'm one of the first persons sometimes, I'm high D, so it's like, no more, right? And so I've really had to flip that in my head, like, yes, you can do that. And here's how.
And I had a really supportive dad. I'm a kid of a Master Chief. I'm a Navy brat. And so he always taught me to believe in things. And as I was thinking more about what I did with Jason, well, I let him know that he shouldn't have big dreams or goals. Oh, anyway.
We all do that.
Yep.
Hey, at least hey, at least you recognized it, right?
Yep. Well, guys, what kind of questions do you have? We've got a little under 10 minutes left. Any other thoughts or ahas about this chapter and finding your voice? And sure would also love to hear what your passion is.
I had an aha, and it goes back to the dream thing. Can you imagine where we would all be if her dad hadn't fed that fire in her and said, dream your dreams and dream them big? Like, just that one thing, and I'm sure he said it to her, 100 times or whatever, but imagine if he hadn't said that to her, where would we be? We probably wouldn't be here.
So true.
I love that.
And Heather, you brought up a good point, and this was my big aha, is that Mo had somebody that believed in her, and we know, maybe one of us didn't have parents that believed in us or pushed us, but it's never too late. That's what I love, is that it gives me so much joy to see Mo. She wrote this book at 78 years old, and she just turned 83. So I just turned 60, and I've got this huge passion as well of teaching, and I teach Ignite, and I started teaching my market centers in Michigan on building a referral business, and I get excited. Like, I can't wait to do it. I don't even care if I get paid $0. And that is just such a huge aha, that I still have 25 good years left to really kick ass, because I'm only 60. Whereas I used to say, oh gosh, I'm 60. Now I say, oh, I'm only 60. I can change a life every day with that passion. So Mo to me is like I always tell Mo, when I grow up, I want to be just like her, and we can all be that shining light, right, for somebody. And whether it be a student right now graduating college that's scared, or whether it be a realtor in our office that's struggling because of not working because of the corona, but we could be that shining light right now for anybody, and we can all be that
I agree.
light, right, for somebody.
Hey there, y'all. I was just thinking how great it was when when Mo actually, by accident, pure accident, got a ride to go to Texas and end up at a Keller Williams office, and then meeting Gary Keller. I mean, I look in this picture of people that I see and I love, that I've met because of coming and joining Keller Williams. And I just wonder, would I have joined Keller Williams had it not been for Mo? I don't know that I would have, because Mo speaks to me more than anybody else. I mean, Gary is a brilliant man, but Mo, her heart. And I'm just so thankful to be a part of this company.
Well said. Me too. And one of my favorite things she does is when she talks about her relationship with Gary, her nose scrunches up and she gets this fiery, feisty thing in her eyes, and she goes, Gary is so lucky to have found me. It's my favorite. Susan,
Wendy had a question. Wendy had a question, and then I'll go to Susan.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I've been walking at night with my daughter every night, and last night we were out walking, and I was telling her about chapters from this week, and I was telling her she's in college right now. She's a sophomore. She's trying to figure out her life path, and I said the most important thing is to have a dream, because if you don't have like a list of dreams and things you're going for, like she focused her whole life on those 3 dreams that she had, and really like identifying what are your dreams, and maybe they're going to change throughout time, and what like she thought she had her dream house, but it wasn't really her dream house. 30 years later she got a real dream house. But if you don't have the dreams in the first place, you can't build that path to get to them. So that was my big aha from this chapter.
All right, Susan, what you got?
Hi, how you doing? Well, I finally got connected here so I could see everyone. I don't know if any of you know this, but Kathleen Garden is my sister. And after our last session, I talked to her, about my big dream bully, our stepmother. And we discussed how our dad also did the same thing to us. So I'm so lucky to have her not only as a sister, but as a Keller Williams agent as well, because we bounced a lot of stuff off of each other. So she's my big go-to person ever since my dad died. So that chapter spoke way more to me than this one. This comes in second.
Well, guys, we've got a couple more minutes. I wanted to ask a question because I thought, Lesley, I thought long and hard about this winning the lottery question. I like to listen to podcasts in the shower because it's the one place where I'm not interrupted by kids, dogs, and cats. And so I'm listening to this and I'm thinking about it. And the answer is no, I would not go back to work for a couple days. I would go to Disney World or somewhere, and then I would absolutely come right back and do what I'm doing. So the question I want to pose is, if everything in your life is exactly the same and you won the lottery, would you come back to this life? Yeah, I see some nods. Christine, you want to say something?
Sure. I definitely would come back to doing what I'm doing because if I did win the lottery, first of all, it would give me a lot of money to share with a lot of people and a lot of good things that I could do, which is mostly one of my main reasons why I do real estate, because it allows me to help people transition. And it's usually, sometimes it's joyful. You move into a bigger house, you've got more money, better job. Sometimes not so much. And so, but no matter what it is, it's traumatic. Transition and change is traumatic for everybody. So couching that, being able to move people gracefully from one place to another, one segment of their life to another, is what I thrive on. And I was, you're talking about different careers. I started real estate at age 59, and I'm going into my 14th year. So this is my third or fourth incarnation of careers. And I was always moved by my mom, who was literally kind of a stay-at-home mom, but really didn't stay put too long. She always taught. She was a teacher as well. She taught physical education and swimming at night when we were growing up. And then at age 62, she was thinking, now what do I do? My dad was retired. He was 66. And she had the opportunity to become the director of fitness for the Town of Hempstead Parks Department in New York, which meant a full-time job and a full-time career at age 62, which she worked for 25 years till age 87 and reluctantly retired because she couldn't walk anymore. And she had the most loyal students on the planet. So there's nothing, and that was her dream. She wanted people to be fit, to move, to enjoy life, to be able to breathe in life and have a body that worked. So I dream big dreams. Awesome. Thank you.
Love it. Love it. Lesley, thank you so much for being here. Any last words? Some teaching, some wisdom to us about finding our voice. Also,
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Missy. I did not know that there was a different singing voice. I missed that sometimes when I read this book for the first time, that you could have you talk about a singing voice and your speaking voice and that they're different, right? And I just love that, because so much of it is, yes, I found my voice at work, but are we looking at the whole self, right? And so we have all these different voices, like a spiritual voice, right? A charitable voice, right? Like, what's our voice for charity? Like, what do we really align with? Like, that's what I thought a lot about, actually, is all these different voices we have. And while we may be amazing in one area, there could be areas in our life where we are yet to find our voice.
Fantastic. Lesley, thank you so much for being here. Totally have to come to Oklahoma soon.
I would love that. I've never been to Oklahoma.
Yay, well, come on down. We are more than just Tiger King.
I love it. I did watch that.
All right. And Miss, and we'll upload the next PDF study guide here shortly.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thank you, Lesley. Thank you, Missy.